was spending actually more than 40 years, or about 50 years if I include the years I was a student. Well, I really got to understand how the academic world works, and to some extent how the federal support for research works, and the ins and outs and maneuvering that needs to be done. But I certainly didn't understand anything about how to run a business. And I think I've made every mistake that's possible. And the hardest thing to find is the combination of competency, ethics, and congeniality. It took me a while to figure out those are the three things you need to find, and they don't usually come in the same person. But when they do, seize the opportunity. And as we got to know Cliff, we found he's a guy who's got all three of those and is dedicated to this work. So it's been a very fruitful partnership. At the beginning, of course, I was quite worried. What was going to happen? Would it work? Would there be success? Would we find we'd made a mistake? Would their quality assurance not really occur? Because what I wanted was a very high level that I don't think exists anywhere else in the world where science has been translated into training, practical training, and monitored carefully. And to my great pleasure, it has worked. It's succeeded. I can't tell you how enjoyable it is for me to think that there are dozens of people who I've never met who are using this, learning it, liking it, and teaching it to other people. It's a great pleasure. Well, part of my research, of course, was establishing universals, but around those universals there are a lot of differences between cultures, even in emotion, even, of course, in how emotion is expressed or when it's expressed. But to take these courses and get them translated into other languages makes them much more accessible, but there's always the danger, will you get the right nuance of that language? Every language has subtleties to it, and you know the subtleties in your own language. Now, I miss some of the subtleties when people in England speak presumably the same language, because they have different subtleties, different nuances. Go into Spanish, German, Italian, there are serious risks as to whether how much of it is translatable. There's no way for me to know. I could know the surface level. It's only the people who are teaching it and who have learned it first in English and then put it in their own language. Those are the people we have to rely on, that they've got the knowledge and they know the nuances of their own language so it can be conveyed properly. Well, it's a wonderful resource to have people in so many countries teaching this work and interested in it. But there are serious gaps that can be filled, that should be filled. The symbolic gestures, which we call emblems. The last time I worked on this was 40 years ago. I developed a methodology that works quite successfully in any region or cultural group. But we need to find out the vocabulary of emblems in every country that we're teaching people, because they'll want to learn them. And people who come in, immigrants, they'll want to know them also. You know, when I ask Americans, show me the vocabulary of emblems, they can usually only give me about 10. But if I show them 30 or 40 more, they know all of them. So you don't really know what you know until it's made explicit. And then you're going to be able to recognize it even when it only comes out as the equivalent of a slip of the tongue, without the person knowing they're making that emblem. So it's fun to do the research, and it's a lot of fun to learn it, and very useful for people within that culture and people coming into that culture. The second area that needs to be expanded is the voice. Now, We have a dual signal system for emotion. It's not just the face. And the face is there all the time unless you put on a mask. And you can just keep your lips closed and not say a word, and you won't hear anything. But the moment people begin to speak, and if you know how to establish a relationship, you'll get people to begin to talk to you. You can hear the emotion in how they, not just the words they choose, but the sound of their voice when they say those words. And we need to be able to get that explicit, to get examples, to be able to teach people. Largely, I would expect much of that's going to be universal, just like the face is. But there are going to be culture-specific sounds that you're going to hear in one culture and you're not going to hear in another. We need, if we're going to have a complete course on even whether it's emotional skills or evaluating truthfulness, we've got to bring the voice in more explicitly. We need the research to do that. It's very hard to say what I hope for the future, because there was a comic strip in America that was very popular 50 years ago called Pogo, and Pogo's most famous saying was, "The future lies ahead." The future does lie ahead. I think the future is unknown. It's all I think I can know is that it's going to grow and solidify, and the expansions will be in a variety of directions as people get more experience teaching this and find out more about what people want to learn. Because, of course, the other key is it's got to be interesting to learn. This isn't like taking a college class where you've got to pass an exam. You've got to learn something that as you learn it, you're enjoying it, you know you're learning something new, and you know you're going to be able to use it and apply it. And that's what motivates people to stay in. That's what motivates people to want to teach these courses.